Hi everyone, this is Stephanie with Conservation Alabama. We're going to take a few minutes today and talk a little bit about the process of applying for an absentee ballot here in Alabama. We have an election coming up July 14th. That's the primary runoff that was originally scheduled for March 31st but was postponed due to the coronavirus pandemic. And we expect there to be a lot more folks voting absentee this year because the Secretary of State has said that he will not require one of the usual excuses that you have to have under state law to vote absentee. So it's enough for the Secretary of State's office if you feel like you need to not be in a polling place on July 14th, if you're practicing social distancing, if you are immunocompromised, or if you're just trying to be careful, you can go ahead and apply for an absentee ballot to vote absentee in the runoff election on July 14th. So we went through and had a couple questions about this process, and we thought we'd share those answers with you in case it's been a while since you voted absentee as well. So we're here on the main page of the Alabama Secretary of State's website. You can get to this very easily by going to alabamavotes.gov, and we will scroll down to click on absentee voting. And this is going to give us an overview of sort of the deadlines and then also the link to the ballot. Okay, so here we are on the main page for absentee voting. There's a couple deadlines we need to talk about. First of all, your absentee ballot application, which we're talking about filling out right now, that has to be turned into the absentee election manager in your county no later than the 5th day before the election. This year, that's July 9th. So that's the last day your application can be turned in. And that's to give the state time to send you the ballot. Now, once you fill out your actual ballot, you have to have that postmarked in the mail no later than the day before the election. So that's July 13th this year. And the absentee election manager has to get it no later than noon on election day, which again, July 14th. Now, if you're running a little behind, you can hand deliver your ballot. That's got to be to the election manager by the close of business on the day prior to the election, which is again July 13th. So keep those dates in mind. July 9th is the last day to turn in your absentee ballot application. July 13th is the last day to turn in your actual ballot where you cast your vote. While we're here, we're going to open up the tab to find our address for the absentee election manager because we're going to need that shortly. But we'll go straight to the absentee ballot application. This is a PDF document. You can either print it out and fill it out by hand, or you can fill it out in the document and then print it when you're finished. Before we even get started, we're going to note a couple things. First of all, you do have to send a copy of your photo ID along with the ballot. That's the only way that they have to verify your identity. We did ask the Secretary of State's office if there would be any kind of way to submit a copy of your ID digitally or via email, and they said no. It has to be a hard copy despite the pandemic. So the other thing I'll note is that Alabama does not allow some people who have been convicted of some felonies to vote. So if you've been convicted of a felony and it's a crime involving moral turpitude, which is one of these on the back of the ballot application, you will not be allowed to vote. So if that applies to you, obviously review that information. Okay, so let's get started. First things first, right off the bat, what county do you live in? That's easy. This box over here, return the application to, that's the address. They're looking for the address of your absentee election manager. We asked the Secretary of State's office if it was necessary to write that into the absentee ballot application, and they said no. So you're free to leave that blank if you would like. Okay, general information, this is really straightforward. Last name, first name, and your middle name, your email address, your street address. And the important thing about your street address is it's where you're registered to vote. So if you haven't updated your voter registration, if you've maybe moved, I would say maybe take care of that before. You've got plenty of time now. Maybe take care of that before applying for an absentee ballot, or make sure that the address you list here is what the state has on record for you. It can't be a P.O. box. It has to be a physical address. And then the next line is where you want the ballot sent. So that obviously, that can be a P.O. box. That's fine. If you're staying with someone or you've moved recently, wherever you receive mail is what that address should be. Now the next item is precinct where you vote. And a lot of us probably have a general idea of our polling place, but we might not know the official name for it. So the best thing to do here is go back to the home page and click on Voting in Alabama. And then you'll go to My Polling Place. So click on polling place up here, and you can search either by your information, so your county, your last name, your date of birth, or your address. And either one of those will generate the polling place that you are normally supposed to vote. And you can take the name of that polling place, that precinct, and you can put it in this box. Okay, so then we have your date of birth, home number, work number, your driver's license number. If you don't have a driver's license, you can use the last 4 digits of your social security number, so only one of these is necessary. Now the next really important thing is which election you're asking for an absentee ballot for. We are voting in the primary runoff election, and which party you're able to vote in this election is totally dependent on what you voted in on March 3rd. So if you voted in the Democratic primary on March 3rd, you are legally required to vote in the Democratic Party runoff. Likewise, if you voted in the Republican Party primary on March 3rd, you're legally required to vote Republican this time as well. To vote in the Republican Party primary, I should say. Some people can do only amendments. That's a little bit more rare, but if you did that, select amendments only, and you will not have any partisan elections on your ballot. Okay, next thing, why are you applying for an absentee ballot? If you are applying for an absentee ballot because you want to be able to practice safe social distancing and you want to stay away from crowds on July 14th, so if this is totally dependent on the coronavirus, you're going to click this box. I have a physical illness or infirmity which prevents my attendance at the polls. Whether or not you have an illness, the Secretary of State has said if you are avoiding public places because of the coronavirus, this is the excuse you should select. Obviously, there's a couple other options that may apply to you depending on whether you'll be traveling or if you have to work on election day. So read through those and see which is the best suited. If you're voting absentee because of the coronavirus, this is the option for you. So last but not least, this is pretty easy. You do have to sign the document. You don't need a witness to that signature unless you cannot sign your name. If you have to sign using a mark, then yes, you do need a witness. If you can sign your name, no witness necessary. So you can print this off. And then let's go back to the absentee election manager page. You're going to search by your county and you'll find the mailing address, and this will be where you send in your application for an absentee ballot, and also where you'll send your completed absentee ballot when it's done. We're going to put our contact information at the end of this video. If you have any questions or concerns about completing your absentee ballot or voting in general, please let us know. We will try to get the best answer we can for you, either from our staff or from the Secretary of State's office.